that falling off over there in the ceiling? A little bit?
It's just hanging a little. It's not.
Okay, it can be fixed, okay. Great.
Hello, Maitreya comes through very choppy. I can't make out anything that he's been saying.
Okay, was it in?
Oh, he was on voice activation, that's why.
Yeah, but that's what he's always on when he talks.
Okay, am I in?
Oh,
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. According to where you are, am I going through well?
It's not breaking up. I changed the voice activation link so it can go on.
It's not breaking up anymore. He changed the voice activation link.
Oh, okay. So can you get shorter? To make it lose voice activation to be activated shorter. Make it shorter and it's not longer.
No longer makes,
Longer means oh, it's this longer.
right,
Okay.
yeah, so it doesn't break up, yeah.
So is it picking up now?
Well, it's not going off for a while, so it should
Okay, hello. Okay, well, how everybody can hear me okay? If you cannot hear me okay, speak up. It's a little background noise there.
Okay, Keisha, let's adjust that a little bit.
Yeah, what I just said is turn this one down, and when I do that, they always say it's too low.
No, how about turn my cheese down a
I'll
little
try
bit?
this down.
Mhm.
Hello. Okay, if everybody can hear me okay, if you cannot, let us know. Apparently you can hear.
But how do we know that they can hear?
Okay, welcome to the mission of Maitreya, Eternal Divine Path. We have come to the mission that has unified all religions of the world, and all the prophecies are fulfilled. The only thing left, we all have been called here to come together and create the facilitating body to manifest this wonderful revelation to humanity and eventually establish the kingdom of heaven on earth. Your dedication and one-pointedness makes it possible by realizing what a great call we have been called for. So, as usual, we meditate, we strengthen our meditation, we try to create the communities of light, sacrifice for it, surrender and submit, and become universalist. And that makes us a Paraviprara and elect. And eventually we'll create the kingdom of heaven on earth and will bring the will of God to humanity in all aspects of life. As usually, I go ahead and ask if anybody is new here who has not heard about the Great Sun and the Eternal Divine Path. I'll go ahead and explain it to them, because every human should hear the Eternal Divine Path and the Great Sign at least once. When we told them about the Great Sign and the Eternal Divine Path, we leave them to God. It's between them and God if they take it and realize what a wonderful revelation it is and come and help us to establish it, or they don't. If they don't, it's between them and God. If they do, that's what Christ said, unite them by their fruit. And we don't want to be that fig tree with a lot of leaf and talk and no fruit. So if you don't give fruit, then you are a fig tree. So let us realize that, and not to be a fig tree, and stop having a lot of leaves but giving a lot of fruits. Well, we can have a little leaves, you need some leaves, but even that leaf should be talked about God and His revelation and His kingdom. So if somebody is there who have not heard about the Great Sign or the Eternal Divine Path, let us know. We explain before we go to the questions. Apparently the camera is good. Okay, then that sounds like everybody heard about the great sign and the eternal divine path. So we go to the first questions that have been sent to the mission. Is that the long one?
Yes.
And the question is going to be a little long, but we will talk about it after it's finished. So let us go.
Salome Maitreya, as a devotee of the mission of Maitreya for many years, and having been given every possible step to become purified, striving to do the will of God, and living a godly life, I know that the path, eternal divine path, is a continuing journey, having to be lived on a day-to-day basis, not living at the mission or another community of light, or with anyone who also follows the path. The discipline and supportive fellowship on a day-to-day basis can at times become very weak. In addition to the internet activities available, what, if any, recommendations do you give us that can help to create the strength when one feels weak, the direction when one feels scattered, the energy when one feels loss of the hope and when one feels down? I know that this all has to do with the ego, but is there any additional information you can share with us that can help us to lift the ego out of the way so that we can see your message unobstructed by our own little selves? Is the only way to live this path to walk away from everything, everyone, and join up with the mission, or to begin a life away from what is now known and start a community of light somewhere, anywhere? I have thought about it, and then I begin to feel like I would be walking away from God's children, who also are loved by Him, but not walking the same path. I happen to have many small children involved in my family as well, and they are wonderful and need guidance desperately. The world is full of people walking different paths, and the mission offers this wonderful eternal divine path. It is truly the only way to God, or it is the only fastest way to God. And does it matter to the individual if there is a time element involved? If we are eternal and we all return to God, but not at the same time, what is the importance of that individually? We are given every opportunity, and sometimes I have felt stressed because of my lack of faster movement on this path. Should we feel judged when we miss activities due to other family involvements that are apparently important in our life? Or do we just put everyone else aside and do the mission only? It may seem easier for some and harder for others like myself with large families. I feel much struggle with this. I want to struggle with God, not against Him. I love the mission, and I love to be at the activities as often as I can. And I also love my family and feel a part of my family's life is being together for dinner, etc., things that consider children, etc., in my life. So as you can tell, I'm feeling pulled in both directions, and I feel love for everyone. And I know God is everywhere and in all people and places. I understand my disassociation from others when there are activities or things that I'm not in agreement with, but I try to understand and let go and keep the mission teachings in my mind. There are times when I can share them, and there are times when I cannot. Is this wrong? Should I be able to share them with everyone without the fear of condemnation or belittlement? Actually, I believe it is partly due to a fear that I am never secure enough in my studies. That must be my biggest problem, the insecurity due to lack of knowledge, due to lack of time spent studying. My meditations, I find hard to discipline myself twice daily on a regular basis. I don't know why. Sometimes they are so good, God, and other times I cannot seem to get in. They are always easier when I'm with the mission activities, so that seems to be an answer right there. But during the day it is harder. I pray the Lord's Prayer, I hum Hari Om, I chant my mantra, I say the reminder many times during the day, but do not do much meditating in the day. Is that as important? Thank you, Maitreya, for your revered insight and wisdom.
Okay. No.
Could they hear it?
Okay. Did everybody hear the question, or if somebody had a problem?
And I'm standing further back.
Should put a step something there.
Yeah, it's right under.
But I think they can.
Let's
I
see.
have a stool. I got
Mr. Strozzi with his name.
Okay, apparently everybody heard the question. Yeah, I heard. Actually, it picks up pretty good even when she's down there.
So talk that low, like 15 minutes.
Do what?
Talk that low.
That's okay. I don't want to hear that. All right. The question is long. Actually, it is more than one question, and I feel that most of the separate questions are already been answered in many satsangs, and but there is a thread in the whole question that stands out: a struggle of an individual to, be with the mission at the same time be with the world. And probably it's a question, that thread in the question, which is the most important part of it, because the individual questions, you can find answers in the satsang before, but that the struggle, probably everybody has the same struggle in your path right now, being with the mission and being in the world. And it's really, whenever preached or advocated, you should leave your family and your wife and husbands and children and come and join the mission and stay here in the center and be with us all the time. The whole idea is that you cannot have two masters. Okay? As far you know who your real master is, and you are dedicated and connected and completely one with God and His scriptures and revelations, then the rest are a part of the process, not your master. You cannot have two masters, period. If you have, then either you're gonna leave one and go to the other, or you're gonna condemn both of them and fall to the world. Okay? It is the wisdom of the spiritual path that has been given to us through, last 12,000 years. You can find it in Upanishads, in Vedas, in all the mystical paths. You can find it in Judaism, in Christianity, in Islam, in Buddhism, Hinduism, and all over the scriptures that God sent to us. Baha'ism, and Ananda Marga, and many gurus and teachers that they brought great pure wisdom. And the sharpest, of course, is Christ. Christ has the sharpest teaching. If you really want to get to the nitty-gritty of it, about how to know it thyself, Christ's teaching is the sharpest with the two-edged sword. So it is said very clearly that you cannot have two masters. If your family is still your master, and you want God also be to your master, then what do you become? You become a lukewarm, doesn't it? That is what the lukewarm is. Lukewarm means, I want a world, at the same time I want a God. Then what you become? You neither become godly, nor become worldly. But you're not as strong in either of them. Then you fail. That is what God said He's going to do with the lukewarm. He's going to spew him out of his mouth. Right there in the Revelation, that gives us the idea of what becomes of the lukewarm. So we cannot be lukewarm. Should we reject the family? Should we say, no, okay, I'm going to go to the mission, drop everything and come here? Yeah, if you don't have any husband, if you don't have any wife, if you don't have any small children to make them to grow, if you don't have any attachments, if your husband or your wife is with you and they're going to come with you, great, both of you come here and join the mission, but you don't have any of those, and you say, well, I don't have any attachment, I can drop everything and come to the mission and become a part of this great, endeavor. It's fine. That is what I did. Actually, I did have an obligation, the very people were waiting for me, to go back, but I wasn't completely, bound with the obligation, so that's what I did. I dropped everything, education, family, nation, nationality, everything else, because that is such a wonderful, great revelation. So I'm an example for you. If you can do it, that is the best thing to do. Just drop everything up. If you cannot, know who is your master. Is God your master? Is your family your master? Is your wife your master? Is your husband your master? Now, if God is your master, what about your family? Your family is a part of God. So you serve them, you with them, you are with them as a part of His, as His part, as a part of Him. Okay? You bring God to them, you become compassionate to them, you become love. But at the same time, don't be apologetic about the mission and its revelation and our teaching. If you're apologetic, then you cannot stand firm in what you believe. So you apologize, kind of say, oh well, okay, so sorry, if you guys please let me go to this, activity of the mission. Is that okay with you guys? And instead you have to say, no, this is my belief, this is my faith, this is my life. Okay? And that is what I'm most dedicated to. Therefore, God and the mission and His revelation and His word is number one. You have to accept that. Family or children or things. This is number one because that's my master. And I love you because of that. I'm compassionate toward you because of that. I'm willing to share my time and energy with you because of the mission, because I can bring God to you and that energy to you. So after a while they see you are a wonderful person that they really need to be with you and around you because you have such a beautiful energy and you're bringing a lot of wonderful things to them. Okay. Then not only they do not become an obstacle in your path toward the mission, they become helpful. They push you toward it, and then even eventually might say, I'm going to join with you with this wonderful energy that you bring to us. So you see, you have to put a priority correctly. What is first in our life? And it's been taught before. What are the hierarchy of being in our life? Number one is what? God. Number two is what? The one who takes you to God, the spiritual teacher. Number three is what? Your parents. And number four is your spouse. That's it. That's the four being in your life that count. Of course, the spouse or your husband or wife, okay, extend to your children, which are trusted to you for you to grow them up and help them up. And when they reach the point that they're grown up and they're, reached in the age of the fly, you have to let them go. They're not there. Even your children are not yours. Children are trusted to you to help them to grow up. When they grow up, you have to, like those birds, even help them how to fly away. Okay. If they flew away and they came back, great. They are yours. You are one. If you stayed in the mission and joined us, great. We are one. We have greater relationship with our children. They become a struggling, spiritual beings that we travel together, and that's wonderful, thing to have together. So again, the teaching has already been given. What is the priority in your life? And if you have two priorities, it's not going to work. Okay? It's just you will become lukewarm. Okay? You have no choice. Okay? So the strength of your life, the strength of your character, the strength of your commitment, the strength of your, willingness to progress in your spiritual path is to put your priority correctly. What is first? What is second? What is third? Now, if I put God first, Is that means I have to forget about my parents? Does that mean I should neglect my wife or husband? Does that mean I should not take care of my children or my family? We never taught that. Never ever we taught you should neglect them. But you will, commit yourself to them because God says it is a part of your life. It's a part of your life to commit your life to your husband and wife. Okay? And get along. It's a part of your life to take care of your parents. Okay? That's your duty. Okay? If you can help them, you have to help them. But if they are in your way between you and God, should you listen to them or God? You should help them, but they are in the way, you should go around them and go to God. But love them and help them and do whatever you can do for them. If they can take you to God, that's great. They place two beings, the spiritual teachers and parents. That's the greatest. You are lucky to have such a parents that not only their parents also take you to God, which is the goal of the life. The goal of the life is to become divine. How you become divine? To realize God is everything. Okay? God is always everywhere with you, in you, out of you, and all that. So, if your parents cannot take you there, you have to find one who takes you there. Read the scripture, read the words of God that has been sent to us, to humanity. And also find the one that takes you to God. If you find a teacher who connects you to himself or herself, that is the red light. Be warned. Okay? Just run as fast as you can away from that teacher. Because he's not a spiritual teacher. Okay? He's the ego trip. Okay? You find a teacher, connect you to God. They say, I'm here to connect you to God, not to myself. If you get attached to me, then you lose the sight of your spiritual progress. You're gonna praise me, okay, instead of realizing who you are. Okay? And that's the goal. The goal of life is to know thyself. Know thyself to know God. Okay? Not your guru or your spiritual teacher or how wonderful he is or she is, but who is God? What is behind him or her? Okay? Which is also within you. Okay? So you say the teacher connect you to themselves, run away as fast as you could. If they connect you to God directly, then realize what you say is based on the word of God, it's the scripture. If they are, then say, okay, this is the one who's going to take me. Of course, he becomes the second most important person in your life. And the first one, of course, is God. His revelation, His word. Creation of the comes the flood. For awakening of the spiritual forces. Creating the communities. Sacrificing for it. Surrendering as submissive and becoming universalist. Then you become an elect. Okay? And that is what we are trying to create in this mission. If you are lukewarm, then you are not an elect, are you? Okay. How can you become an elect? Have your priority correctly put down. You cannot have two gods. You cannot have two masters. This is the struggle I know it is in your life. Okay? You have been in this struggle for the last 20 years and you haven't been able to choose. Which one is my master? Okay? That's why you become lukewarm. Okay? And then, if you're lukewarm, would be surprised if God said, well, you're not doing really my will? You shouldn't be surprised. I know I'm lukewarm. I'm teared off in two different directions. Okay, if you are you reach an intersection, you don't know if you want to go to right and left, where you're going to go. You're going to just get stuck. You don't know which way to turn. But if you decide to go to right, have you made the decision? Yes. You turn right and you continue your journey. But if you get to the in an intersection and you don't know where to go, then you never go anywhere. You're not progressing. you're stuck. Okay? So the path of not getting unstuck is going back to the satsang, going to the revelation, go to the teachings. And say, well, how can I get unstuck? Oh, okay. That's what it says, the hierarchy of being. God is number one. The spiritual teacher is number two. Parents are number three. Spouse are number four. If my wife says, no, don't help my parents, is she a good wife? Or husband? Say, I'm sorry, I love you, but my parents are before you. They are in a hierarchy, all right? I have to help them. If your parents says, no, don't go to your spiritual teachers. You find someone who's going to connect you to God, but don't go. Stay with us and stay with our tradition. And should you stay with your parents? So no, parents, we love you. I love you very much. If you ever need help, my help. If you ever wanted something that I can help you with, I'll be there for you. But bye-bye, I have to go. I have been here, I've come here for a purpose. I've come here to go to God. That is the goal of the life, to become divine. So you go around your parents and go to God, to a spiritual teacher. Okay, the spiritual teacher says, okay, worship me and I'm wonderful, I'm the best thing, I'm the cosmic, teachers, I'm better than Maitreya, I make some ashes, so I'm a wonderful guy, or I make a lot of miracles, and I can summon the skies and the powers, and I can appear in two places and go from this and that. So what? Are you going to take me to God or not? I don't care, you can do all of these miracles. Doesn't make any sense and different to me, a bit. Are you going to take me to God? Am I going to be able to get there? He says, no, I can't do that, but if you want more ashes, I can make more ashes for you. Say, no, sorry, you can keep your ashes. I'm going to go somewhere else that take me to God. Okay? And if eventually you find someone who talks about the things, it's a scriptural, who fulfills the prophecies and brings you the, greatest revelation ever that helps you to go to God, he says, that's it. We found the answer. We hit the right button. Then you can read Quran, you can read Bible, you can read, Upanishad, you can read anything you want. But at the same time, realizing the great sign or the eternal one, where they do fall. Okay. Then you realize, oh wow, I can read all the scripture without getting confused anymore. Okay. So what is more important to me? To work on myself and these teachings, or still holding up and hanging into fuzzy teachings of the New Agers. I learned that fuzzy thing from Mr. Bush. Fuzzy economy. He must keep talking about. Huh?
Fuzzy economics, yeah.
Yeah, fuzzy economic, or fuzzy accounting.
Yeah.
Or a fuzzy teaching of New Agers. Oh, there are many paths. Is your path faster than others? It means there is many ways. There is not. The only way is the eternal divine path. They have some truth in what did they say in the ways. He didn't prophesy those paths are going to come. But actually that is amazing. After all these years being with the mission and hearing the satsang, still you are saying there are many paths. That itself shows you're hanging out into, little And instead of letting go of and say, yeah, he said this is the only way. There is no other way. There is no other path. It is not the fastest path, it is the only path. Okay? There is no fast or slow. This is it. So you have to give up, those little ego hanging in. Eventually say, okay, I gave up. Either you are going to give up to me, or you're going to give up to the world. Which one you give up? Two. That's what you're not going to have two. You're going to stay, well, look for. You have to give up one of them. If you give to God, you're still going to have your wife, husband, your children, your family, and everything. But you give to the world, you lose God. Actually, you lose your family too, and your husband, because you will fall to the lower nature. And after a while, okay, most of the wife and husband are, they hate each other. They just live with each other because they have psychological dependency, because their marriage is not based on God. Yeah, you might stay with your husband, but really you don't love your husband or your wife, okay, because it's not based on God. So you have to choose. You have to make that final decision. You have to say, which way am I going to give up? My own knowledge and ideas and books I read and the things I have studied, or I'm going to listen to Though and the Satsangs and the revelation and realize what God has done. He didn't send us this revelation just from the oblivion. He prophesied it's going to come. He prophesied that these prophets are going to come. I'm not another guru here sitting and saying, oh, don't worry about it, just meditate. Okay? It's going to be okay. That's not the guru things here. We're talking about the prophesied revelation who has come after many prophecies and now is here, and we are still hanging into our little knowledge and egos and things like that. That's fine with me. As I said, I have told you the great sign and the eternal divine path. I'm done. Then when I say to someone the great sign, I'm done with them. If they leave, they stay, it's up to them. It's not up to me. My responsibility is to give you the great sign and the eternal divine path. Your responsibility is to understand it. After you understand it, you realize this is the revelation calls you to action. Inaction will destroy your faith. Faith without works is dead. So, we can see that everything falls exactly like a puzzle in the mission. That's what amazed me when I wrote Though and start realizing it more. It is so, like a puzzle. It just fits everything so perfectly together. If you fall in one part of it, you're not gonna, you miss the other parts of the puzzle. It's not gonna work. Just go hand in hand. So again, I think I've given this satsang. It sounds very familiar to me that I've already talked about this thing before, that you have to eventually make the final decision. My ego, my world, this world, or God. If God, okay, what God said? He said, I'm going to send 7 revelations. Okay. And I'm going to be mystery until the 7th angel comes. And he's going to open a book sealed with the 7 seals. Alright, that is the God that really exists, and we all read his scriptures and believe in it as the Hindus and Buddhists and Christians and Muslims and Hindu and Jews and Baha'is. Okay, now it's the 7 seals is here. The book is open. Am I still going to hang into my things? Or I'm going to stay firm, say, sorry world, sorry my family, sorry my children. I have been called for a great thing. I'll be with you, but that is number 1. Get it? If they don't get it, then you have to make a decision. Are you going to stay with them? Or are you going to say, sorry, you're not getting it, you're going 2 different ways. You're going south, I'm going north. Or can we stay together? No. You're going south, I'm going north. You can't. just as simple as this. Or you're going to stay in the middle of the south and north and start fighting the rest of your life, which way you should go. If you can bring them north with you, great. But don't go to south with them. Because if you go to south, you're never going to get to north. It's just meditate on this, gems of wisdom and see, where am I? Then your life becomes much easier. You have a commitment, you have a strength. Okay? When a crisis comes, when situation changed, whatever happens around me, I know mission is number one for me, no matter what happens. If it's with my wife, it's with my disciples, if it's my son, if it's my family, that's number one. Okay. Now, if I can take some time away from the mission and help out, those people, fine, I will do it. But if they become interference to do my mission, then I have to say, sorry, my mission is more important. Isn't that make life much easier? And I don't apologize for this at all. Because that is the most important thing in my life, truly. Okay. So we are not apologetic, then we have the strength to tell everybody, this is my life. This is my faith. This is the revelation I received. I am not lukewarm. I am standing, behind my word. Then you will see, wow, even my family start respecting even more. They are going to be amazed of, how strong I am in my faith. So you have to choose. That is the crux of the matter. Okay. If you do not choose, then you will be lukewarm, and God said, I'm going to spew out of my mouth. Does that make sense? Any follow-up question about that? Anybody?
Thank you, Maitreya.
You're welcome. Okay. They can hear you.
In the Old Testament, it was given that every 7 years all the debts would be forgiven. Does that mean God doesn't really want a rich class?
That's a good question. Well, in the Old Testament, if you have a debt every 7 years, that would be wiped out, and you didn't have to pay anything for it. And the question is, if that's true, then God doesn't want people to get rich. But at the same time, in other part of the Bible, it says that don't hurt the wine or the barley, and
Oil and the wine.
oil and the wine, and the measure for the barley, which in essence means don't destroy the rich and give it all to the poor. So like there has to be some people that might have something more, and other people might not have what they do. But at the same time, we can see the other ideology that advocates if we let the rich become rich, and eventually rich become rich and the poor become poor, and it reaches a point that the few people are rich and most of the people are poor, and that is when the Shudra revolution or worker revolution usually happens, and that is what the whole communist ideology is based on. That we have to share everything. Everybody work according to their ability and take according to their needs. That is the basic. But we see that after 70 years that ideology didn't work either. And Russia went down the drain, and China is a materialistic, business-oriented nation now, and Cuba is struggling to make its end, and that ideology almost is dead. So what is the answer then? Well, what answer was what God provided in the Bible. Okay, every 7 years, if you had a debt, you don't have to pay. So the rich doesn't get as rich if everybody would have to pay their debts. Also, God, advocated no interest. Okay. Usury. So there is no usury in the Bible. Is prohibited to have the interest rates, and when the money you take from someone, okay, you don't pay any interest rate for it. Therefore, the rich doesn't become rich. That's one way to become rich. A lot of rich people have money, they lend their money, and they just collect the interest, and they don't have to work or anything, and they have all the money they want. That's one way, God tried to cut the difference between rich and poor. Okay. Of course, that is also in Islam, and Iran is an Islamic, government, but they weren't able to avoid it. So they charge a service fee, that they call it. They don't call interest rate. So what is the difference? It's still a person who has the money and give the money to the poor can take some money back from their own money. So we see none of them is really working, and nobody is gonna, let you go after 7 years. Okay, especially in this time that we live in. Okay, and should we pass a law that such a thing happens again? Nobody's gonna buy a house. Who can buy a house for 30 years with interest rate? Because after 7 years, says, sorry, I'm not gonna pay it anymore. It's been 7 years, and the rest is null and void. So we can see none of this practical. None of them was practical. None of them really work. But what our teaching teaches? We teach the paravipras, and our system is in a system of the perpetual cycle of progress toward balance in the universe. So you can see that if rich become too rich and the business people become too powerful, what the Paravipra do? Paravipra very slowly change the rule and regulation in such a way that the distribution of the resources again is spread to more people. And because there are a spread of the resources, therefore there is again the society progresses to next step. Okay. And when it reaches a point that the intellectuals should be encouraged, they pass laws and encourage intellectual manifestation. If the Katrians or warriors are to be encouraged, they do the same thing. Okay. So that is why it is so important for Paravipras to be at the top of the society and always balance this imbalances that happens in the society and brings the balance back to the society. So we don't need to stop paying people their debts after 7 years. But when the Paravipra realizes that a lot of people are becoming poor and a few people becoming rich, then it's a time to again, tunnel or funnel the money back to the masses so they can use their creative energy to, progress humanity to the higher level. So it was a good law when it came, but it didn't work. It didn't work. It is a good law not to, charge usury or interest rate, but who's not doing it? Very few people say, okay, here is your money, just go and have whatever you want, just give it back to me whenever you want. You can't find that anymore. Okay? So those things that were not practical. But again, in our teaching, answers that question very easily. Okay? That's why we are working on paravipras. We're trying to find the elect. We're trying to find the people who are willing to do the labor. They're willing to be, a warrior. They have no fear of, condemnation or anything. They say, this is it. This is my mission. This is the latest revelation. I have no fear of, anybody or anything. And I'm willing to go ahead and preach it to anybody that listens. Of course, you don't have to go and grab people, try to teach them if they want to listen. Fine, you don't want to listen, I'll leave you alone. Even in your work, you don't have to, insist in preaching the teaching, because the people hired you didn't give you money to preach mission to the other people. So it's okay in your work environment, or be very discriminative, user discriminative. If somebody's interested, great, tell them about the mission. If they're not interested, don't waste your time. Go to the people who are interested. But that doesn't mean become escapist and say, well, nobody's interested, therefore I'm not going to do anything. Okay, that is extreme to other side. Create situations that you are able to reach. Just like a mission, we create a website. Set to your own website. Okay, go to the universities, start classes, and whatever it's been given in the what I can do in the mission website. What can I do about spreading? Because every human should hear about this revelation at least once. They have no excuse at the end say we didn't hear it. No, remember you heard it. That person told you about it. So we can. None of them were practical. But if we create the paravipras or elects, and they eventually become the head of the society, according to our teachings and system, which come from the comments of light, if they prove themselves that they have the ability to physically engage themselves in doing whatever is necessary to be done, they are not fearful or afraid, they are brave and willing to, bravely go, after, souls for this cause. And those who are intellectually, have the ability to decipher and understand the teachings, and also they are have the business mind, business ability. They're not afraid to deal with money, and resources, and can manage them very well. Then such a person is a paravipra. Of course, they have to follow also eternal divine path, awaken their spiritual forces, work toward the creation of the communities of light, sacrifice, submit and surrender to the will of God, and becoming universalists. Then they become paravipra with that ability. They eventually will emerge. They have no choice. They will emerge as the facilitating body, which will create the communities of light all over the world, and eventually the hierarchy of beings from the communities of light will emerge, and they will become a kind of a alternative to the systems we have on earth. And eventually everybody sees such a wonderful system it is, and everything dissolved to one nation, or kingdom of heaven on earth. And then the paravipra will watch the system, how it goes. If the system needs a lot of worker, they provide the working class and ability to work hard, hire a lot of people to do that. If they feel that there is some place that needs to be corrected, they can, hire and create barriers or should Catherians, and if they felt that they need intellectual people for scientific or business scientific thing, they will create them, start universities, teach people and all that. If they need businessmen, they create a lot of MBAs, Master in Business Administrations and all that, and they make the business going. And then when the money is accumulated to the hand of the few people, then they create laws to distribute it back. See, it goes just like from the bottom, go to the business people, become powerful, and then when distribute back to the humanity, then humanity is a little higher in the level of consciousness and material thing. So the next phase is going to be even greater, bloom of the, creativity and all things. So eventually human reaches the point, they might even eliminate money. They don't need them anymore. They reach in a higher consciousness, everybody shares. Community of light is everywhere. If the community of light everywhere, we really need not money at all, very little. But mostly it's going to be barter and then sharing and being together and all that. Okay? So we are just a beginning, we are just a bud in this process. So the question is, we really don't need that law anymore because our system really take care of it. Does it make sense? Okay. Any question? Do you have any question?
Yeah, but I have kind of a follow-up on that. I guess what you're saying is the Paravipras will be so well respected that they'll be able to manipulate the society to make it more equal and more fair for everyone monetarily? Is that okay?
Well, that one of the things that creates respect is incorruptibility. Okay? And that's one of the character of the Paravipras is incorruptible. They're incorruptible. Okay? And also they emerge from the bottom of the society themselves through the communities of light. Okay? And in the communities of light, 12 people choose one person as their leader. So those 12 people pretty much know each other, just like us, we're living here for last 12 years or something, and every person knows other person pretty good. Okay? It's just, we're all open book to each other. Okay? So after a while, in the community of light, in the unit, in the community also, the 12 people know each other very well. So they will choose a leader, or the leader will emerge, and then 12 of them again become together and have a meeting, and eventually one of them emerge, and 12 of such 12 people, and the third level emerge. Okay. So by the time you are in the third level, you have been a pretty good person. Okay, have a lot of abilities, and a lot of people know you that you are up there. And then from such a community, eventually many levels that in our system has been explained will emerge. Okay? So there are people who reach the point, they should have been pretty respected, that they have been able to emerge in so many levels. Okay? And they have shown that they are not complainers, they don't complain about the duties, they do duties very fine, well, they are intellectually able to do things, and they are have leadership ability, they take charge, they initiate things, they just don't sit there and somebody tells you all the time what to do. They are able to do things, by themselves and get it done well. Okay? So such people eventually emerge, and everybody says, okay, yeah, this person gets things done. This person understands the teaching. This person is a good person. Is not corrupt. Okay? Is such a person respectable? I bet he is or she is. They'll say, yeah, such a person is not flaky. Is not, she is or he is dedicated. He is or she is knowledgeable of the teaching. Okay? He, she is fair. Okay? In dealing with the other people. Okay? Such a person will create respect, and other people accept him. And at the top, Actually, that's another thing about our system is half of the income of the government come from taxes, but the taxes are not mandatory. It is if you actually, and also donations from people. If people don't respect the head of the society, what do? They just don't donate. Okay. When they donate, what happens? The resources goes down. The only tax they can ask people to pay is the same amount of the donation they can gather. So if the more donation they gather, they can ask outside of the system to also pay tax. If the donation goes down, it means the head is not respected. Can they tax people more than what they get? No. So you can see that there is a checkpoint also about the financial situation of the system. They cannot just go be corrupt and keep asking people taxes. Okay, and people say, well, I have no choice, I have to pay. I know I really don't care about what these people do, to my country or to my nation or to the earth, but I have to pay them. In our system, it's not true then. If they are not respected, if they are not, people are not willing to give of themselves to the system does not have the ability to raise taxes either. So what happens to them? They fall apart.
One of the big problems in the system we have right now is that the very rich corporations or rich individuals are able to contribute to a candidate as long as they follow the agenda that individual or corporation wants. So it's really a way for the rich, powerful groups to influence the government. Sometimes in a very unethical way. But what you're talking about is a donation from the people, not just necessarily from corporations.
Well, we're talking about, we don't have any elections per se that they will be able to donate to it. So later on they say, see, now it's a payback time, okay? But we have election only for a few people in the system, which they don't have much of a voice in the beginning. If they found out that they are not completely pure and good, they're not going to be elected next time, or they're not going to be elected to the body. Okay. So our body comes from, actually, the whole idea of the people, the government from the people, by people, for people, has never really manifested even in the United States. Okay. It's really, that saying was for our system, because where the people come from the Communist of Life. They are the people who choose the first leader, the Communist of Life, the unit in the Communist of Life. Who are they? They are people. Where does that first leader come? From the people. Who is gonna choose them? By the people. And what is he gonna do? He's gonna do the things for the people. Or is this really happening here in this, even in the United States, as you just mentioned, really the business is running the nation, the country. And that is actually, this is when the Paravipas realize, wow, the business people are becoming too powerful. Okay? Few people have a lot of money and they can influence things according to their thing. And paying, you don't have TV ads, you don't have, campaigning expenses, okay, for your emerging as a leader. So you don't need all that money. You are living in a community, doing your thing, and everybody suddenly says, you are the leader. Oh, me? Why me? I don't know, but you're always the best person to lead this community. Okay, he says, all right, okay, I'll do it. That's a part of our teaching, that's a part of my belief, that's a part of my faith. I'll become your leader, okay. Let's cooperate, let's see what we need here, what should improve, who does what, and all that. But I have to go and meet with the other 12 leaders in the first level in the community. He goes to the 12 people, and after a while he says, you are the leader. He says, why me? I just didn't even want to be the leader of my community. He emerges in the second level, third level. And suddenly he goes to the top, without even realizing, he even wanted to become a leader or anything. Okay, he wasn't anxious. He wasn't really thinking, oh, I'm a great leader with a big ego, but he emerges as the leader. So, who choose him? People choose him. Okay. So he is a good person that the people choose him. So you can see that again cuts off all the extra money and the donations and the things that the candidates these days have to raise. If they don't, they're not going to be elected. We don't have anybody like Lincoln,
Abe Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Okay, he emerged as a great leader. Okay. Or a lot of presidents probably emerged in the past. But right now, who has more money is gonna win the election because he can, create a greater, machinery to do that. Okay, so we can see that again. Our system, our teaching, God, everything is perfect as we discussed many times. God's got just perfect everything in this revelation. You can see that it cuts all those junks out of the system. And the people emerge from the comments of life. But that's so important in the comments that you follow eternally one path. Okay, because eternal path purifies you. Okay. In the communities of light, which is based on the eternal purified path, the fantastic, good leaders will emerge. Okay. They don't need, campaign contribution. They are just good leaders. So we can see that it will be taken care of too. We'll create a system based on people, for the people, by the people, and all that. Okay. Any question, follow up? Anybody has anything to add or anything? Does anybody understand what I'm talking about? I'm sure you do. That's okay. Go ahead. Next.
This next question has to do with paravipers also. When we had the chat room on Thursday, I asked the question, what does it mean to have the kingdom of heaven within? I asked it to spur conversation and to see what others would share and say in response. Then it was suggested that I ask this question at Satsang. And although I hadn't intended to ask it for Satsang, I knew that the answer is and I knew the answers in our writings. I thought I would ask anyways, because whenever I ask a question at Satsang, it always gives us greater insight.
Okay, what do you think the kingdom of heaven within is? Oh, you read the book? I see. Okay.
Well, in case it was turned back to me, which I knew was a possibility, I have the book Thus Speaks Maitreya on Paravipers, and there's a whole section in the book that talks about the kingdom of heaven within.
All right, that was you read it to us.
Since what you say would be better than I could say in my own words, I'll just read this.
All right, thank you.
The kingdom of heaven within is when a person finds God in his or her heart. It has nothing to do with any organized religion, philosophy, or external circumstance. It is a personal relationship between a man and God. It is God within the temple of one's body. There is also a hierarchy in this kingdom within. Each person realizes God in a different level, hierarchy within. Any person in a level above another can teach the person below. That is why we have so many teachers, each with a little knowledge, proclaiming to be teachers, and they do not find followers, those who are a little below them. However, the greatest teacher of all is the Christ, God, who teaches all levels in the hierarchy, and each one is a part of his body. And there's another section, a little bit longer, that also has some really good insight. We have to all realize that each kingdom is necessary. Each of them are interrelated. The kingdom of heaven on earth will not come without the kingdom of heaven within you. The kingdom of heaven within you might come, but it's going to be very hard to live on earth where the kingdom of heaven on earth has not come. You might be a good person and connect yourself to God, but it is very hard for a good person to live in a society where a lot of people are not good. It's very hard for them because they are good, but others are not. So it has to go hand in hand. That's why a person who goes through the first 5 steps of the eternal divine path creates the kingdom of heaven within. And not only are these people good, but they are also effective. They meditate, they do their spiritual practices to become connected to God. They strive to create an environment where people are good, live together, and create a community. In order to create this community, sacrifice, not being self-centered, is necessary. Even with that, they have to become submissive. Submission means you do your best, and at the same time you surrender the result to God. The reason we become depressed, the reason we become unhappy, the reason we sometimes become too much elated, and then we are depressed after that, is because we are attached to the results of our actions. When we do something good, we become elated. We just jump all over. Then tomorrow the thing we felt was good doesn't happen the way we want it, and we become completely down. So we go up and down like a roller coaster. But with surrendering, we say, God, it is really you who is the doer, and the result is also yours. Better than surrendering is submission. It means God is doing it through us. So with that, we're going to become completely free from the results of our actions. Also, we will become universalists. Being a universalist means that you believe there is one God, one unity in the Spirit, and everything is God. So how can you separate between religions, races, countries, and philosophies? There can't be separation. After realizing these 5 steps is when you create the kingdom of heaven within you. So not only do you create the kingdom of heaven within, but you strive to bring the kingdom of heaven without. I go to the mountains and meditate. I think I'm such a wonderful person. I'm meditating all the time. Or I go to my room, or I go to the beach. I go to whatever place I have, cut myself off from the world and say, what a wonderful person I am. But then I encounter society and I find out that I was just escaping from truly seeing myself. It is just like that yogi who was meditating in the mountains for 10 years. He thought he was such a wonderful person. He was always happy sitting there meditating, breathing such good air, etc. He thought he was in control of his environment, and one day he had to go to town and he had no choice. He went to town, and with the first person who pushed him, he became so angry and pushed back. Suddenly he realized, wow, what am I doing? I thought I was so good and such a wonderful yogi. I thought I was completely in control of myself. With this push, I became so angry. What is this? And then so we believe that the person who wants to create the kingdom of heaven within has to be in the community, otherwise it's not going to work. We don't believe in escapism. We don't believe in going to the mountains, meditating up there and saying, oh, I'm such a wonderful yogi, I have all these cities, powers, and all those things. If we can create such people more and more who have the kingdom of heaven within and are striving to create the community together, we will eventually connect these communities together with one another, and that is when we'll bring the kingdom of heaven on earth.
Very good. So you did your work and your research, and actually somebody was telling me that it's not important that what we know, it's important where to find it. Of course, in the mission, at least you have to know the eternal divine path. Yeah, that is the answer. The kingdom of heaven within is the following of the eternal divine path. Okay, that is the way to meditate, awaken your spiritual forces. But you don't have to go to the mountain. You can stay in the community of light and doing it. Of course, it is more difficult now because we don't have the kingdom of heaven on earth, because we don't have many communities. We haven't created the base of the mission so people can, we have a lot of work to do right now instead of, sitting and meditating and all that. Then live in the community of light. Okay, meditation without community of light is going to be very difficult. Okay, because you are living in a world that is very materialistic, very Mayaistic, very, dogmatic, very, Kali. Okay, it's an age of Kali, it's an age of ignorance, and that is why, you cannot meditate, okay, if you are out there. That's why we are emphasizing over and over creation of the communities of light. The more we create communities of light, the easier for everybody to meditate. The more we create the communities of light, the easier to sacrifice, the easier to surrender and submit to God, and easier to become a universalist. Okay? When you do that, then you awaken your spiritual forces. Because you live in the community When you go to the world is not going to affect you. Even in this little community we have, the people who go to work, when they come back here, they have a refuge. It's a kind of they enter into really heaven here. They can just shut everything out there and come here and cleanse themselves, and the next day they can go to work much cleansed and rested. Most of the people out there, they don't have even that. They go home, they drink, they watch television, the next come, they come, they're wrecked. That's what they're so rude. That you can see more and more. So many people out there that are so rude and unconcerned and not polite or anything, because their mind is actually in mush. Because they eat junk food, they drink junk drink, they watch junk television, they breathe junk air. What you become? You become junk after a while yourself. Okay, as simple as that. So that's why, again, this community, although it's not very many people in it, and still it's a refuge for a lot of people who even go to that world. The more we create such a communities, easier for people become, because they have more and more refuge, and they become calm-minded. They go out there, they can affect their environment. The environment out there become calmer. The more creation of communities, the bring a calmer environment, and eventually, as I said, the kingdom of heaven is a state of being of the whole humanity. Okay, and our path, or in kingdom of heaven within, is a steady mind. Okay, it's neither elates too high or become depressed too low. Okay, if you have an steady, that is the path of the eternal divine path. You awaken your spiritual forces. You work in a community. Therefore, you are not in a mountain escaping the world. You are in the world, but at the same time, you are not in the crazy world. Okay, you are in a much calmer world. Then you sacrifice. Okay, you learn not to be self-centered. Okay, not always what's in it for me, but what's in for the community. You are not self-centered. That is one problem of the ego, is self-centeredness. Okay, that rubs on you not to be self-centered. Okay? For some people, it's very difficult. They want to run away. They want to take their ego and say, no, I want my little apartment, little place to live. I want my ego. I don't want to share with anybody. Okay, I don't want to encounter any problem. Okay, I don't want to deal with the difficult people. Okay, in communities, there might difficult people live in the community. You have to know how to deal with them, how to, bend them, make them, become unself-centered and not difficult anymore. Okay, you have to deal with the people, and that's a very hard thing to do with a lot of people. They don't want to deal with the people. They want to go. It's much easier to have an apartment or a house by yourself and live there and say, oh, I'm such a wonderful person, and see how wonderful I am, but at the same time, if you put them with other people, they realize, oh, I'm not that wonderful as I thought I was. Okay, so we can see that the purification comes a lot when you're in the community. Okay, after a while, people are not as nice as in the street with you. They tell you that right in your face, you have a problem. Okay, you have to take care of this problem in the community, and you learn and you grow. So community of light is a wonderful teaching environment, okay, for us to see ourselves. Can we see ourselves by ourselves? It's very hard, okay, for us to see ourselves, but other people can see us, and if we are open to the suggestion in the community, after a while it tells us if everyone in the community tells us something, eventually I have to think about it. Maybe they are right. One person can be wrong, 2 persons can be wrong, 5 persons can be wrong, 10 persons cannot be wrong. Okay, so I better meditate on these problems, and eventually you overcome those problems and you progress, and you reach a point that you can sacrifice, you can give of yourself without making a big deal out of it. Oh, I gave you so much, I gave so much in the community. You did a little, but you think, wow, I did so much in the community, I'm giving so much into it. Okay, and the people say, no, you didn't give up. Compare what you gave and what we gave. You gave very little, we gave a lot, But at the same time, we're not bragging about it or talking about it all the time. Or you say, oh, okay, I am too self-centered that even when I give a little, I think I gave a lot, which is not true. I didn't give a lot because other people are giving more than I'm giving. Okay? So it's a process that's gonna eventually help you and get you to a point not to be self-centered. And then after that, of course, when you're not self-centered, everybody start praising you, some wonderful thing you are doing. And you said, again, big ego, and said, oh, what a wonderful person I am. I'm doing all this good thing in the community or for the mission or that. And eventually you realize, you're not the doer. God is doing through you. You're just an instrument. Okay? Then you become not elated, not, down. That is the state of, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, that is what Krishna is talking about. A steady mind, which neither become elated nor become depressed. A steady mind that will stay in the course of the work he has been called for, and he will be able to accomplish it, because nothing affects him. So he knows where he's going. We know where we are going. We are going toward the commerce of light. We are going toward the creation of the kingdom of heaven on earth. Okay? So if some other people, because people will drag you down, okay? They will try. That's one of the things about the other ego is, ego loves to drag other egos down, okay, to their own level. Okay? That's what they do. Okay? So there's a lot of egos there trying to drag you down. Don't go where you're going. We don't want you to go. Okay? Actually, if you heard about the, what is those crawling things in the water? There's crayfish, yeah. In the crayfish, they put a lot of crayfish in a ball. They don't cover them. Do you know what the reason is? The reason is that anytime any other crayfish is trying to go over the ball, the other crayfish pull him down. They don't want the other crayfish get out of the ball. Okay, it's just their nature. Okay, that's exactly what one problem in the spiritual path is. You have to be worried about other crayfish, not to pull you down. Okay, that's what ego does. Ego loves to pull you down to their own level. If you're a little higher, they try to get your energy and become your level, but you both come, you go down, they go a little high, but because their ego cannot maintain that energy, they lose that energy themselves. The both of you are gonna go down. That is one of the things that the idle talk does. Idle talk is really means, I'm gonna take your energy, because I really need that energy, I don't have it. Okay? And when you give idle talk, you don't feel very high after that, if you're a high person. If you're a lower person, you feel good, okay, because you get the energy from the other high energy. So be careful of the crayfish, okay? So fishes, and be a steady mind. And an eternal divine path is the path of make your mind steady, one-pointed and focused. Okay? So that is what the kingdom of heaven within is. You awaken your spiritual life, you become more sensitive. By meditation, you become more sensitive, really. That's what meditation does. You live in a community of light, you sacrifice, you learn not to be self-centered, you become universalist, therefore, you become, you let God do it through you, therefore you're neither elated nor depressed. If it didn't work, if it was bad, it was your ego. If it was good and perfect, it is God, because God is perfect. Therefore, if you do something and you let Him do it through you, it should be perfect. If it's not perfect, you did it. Okay? It was your fault. God is perfect. So you're not going to get elated or depressed. Then you become universalist. Universalist means universe is your home, God is your mother and father, and you are here to do your father's work. Okay? You are universalist. Okay? You do not belong to any nation, any gender, any place, but to the universe. Okay? Your nationality is universalism. Okay? Where are you from? I am from God. Where are you from? I'm from God too. Oh, okay. We are from the same place. You're not from any specific area in the world. Okay? So that is universal. You expand your mind, you destroy every narrowness of the mind that keeps you from, progressing. I am from this nation, I am from this gender, I am from this race. This is our constricting, yeah, it's constrictive. It makes your consciousness small. Okay, and they have been born in so many different places. Anyway, where are you from? I don't know. Which lifetime are you talking about? So you can see it expands your mind. Such a person has no attachment, no fear, no constricting ideas. He is certain and submissive to God. God does the work through them. Okay? They are ready to sacrifice everything for the communities. They live in the community and they meditate and they awaken their spiritual force. Meditation doesn't mean sitting there all the time and meditating. You might go for a ride, you might do gardening, you might, whatever, helps you to calm your mind and start realizing and hearing the word that we give you in your initiation. When you hear that word, you are connected. You are there. Okay? So this is the kingdom of heaven within. All these things are given to help you to create the kingdom of heaven within, to destroy narrowness of the mind, to destroy the up and down of the life, to not being self-centered, being able to stay in the community and learning how to meditate. Then if you create the kingdom of heaven within, then you are a paravipra, you are an elect, you are a person who have no choice but to get engaged with the mission and do the work. If you're not doing the work, then you're not having the kingdom of heaven within.
Maitreya, how is it that these paravipras who have overcome, they're classless and they're incorruptible, and still it says that verse, hold fast that no man take thy crown, they still could fall back? How is it that could happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, until you reach the pure consciousness, there's always a pitfall that you might fall back. Okay? In a sixth seal, okay, you meditate for a while, you stay in the consciousness of light, you sacrifice and you turn non-submissive and you become universalist, but you're not truly done all of them. You think you have done it, okay, but you still have an impurity, you still have your ego intact, or have a part of ego at least intact. It's broken down, but it's not completely broken down, and you're not completely surrendered and submissive. You still have your own will. You want to do. You don't want to do what God wants you to do. Okay? If it's still there is residue is still there, or you say I'm universalist, but I don't like this person or this race or this people. Again, you not completely there. Then you fall. Okay? Because you're not completely pure. But if you're pure paravipra, then you really are in pure consciousness. Because when you reach the purity of the paravipra, what's the next step? You're in pure consciousness. Of course, then you have the ability to decide you want to go to pure consciousness or you want to stay body and help others also to reach pure consciousness. Okay? If you decide to go to pure consciousness, of course, God is going to send you back. Okay? He's not going to say, okay, come in and I'm going to keep you. As he said, I'm going to spew you out of my mouth. You think you have reached, but you don't. Such a person become an avatar, a God-man, a person who comes from pure consciousness to the body, a person who decides to stay back in the body and help the people. They become a Satguru or a street-lost person. But a guru is a very misused word. Okay? A lot of gurus, they attach you to themselves. Okay? They are false teachers. Okay? But if a guru or a spiritual teacher teaches and take you to God, and her teaching is based on the scriptures, of God and the word of God, then he's a good spiritual teacher. Really, guru means a spiritual teacher. It's not an Indian word or anything. So if you're completely made it to become a pure paravipra, you go to pure consciousness, so you don't fall. But if you fall, it means you had some impurity. So that's what it says. Watch that no one will take your crown. You are very close to the crown. What's the crown? Pure consciousness. Now watch it. Okay. You might not make it. Still there is a pitfall. Okay, that you become impure and you fall. Okay, and that fall is great because you already created so much power, so much, beauty and so much thing. You can misuse that. Okay, you can make little ash and make everybody, millions of people follow you. Okay, but you lost to go to pure consciousness yourself, and you are become an obstacle for millions of people to go to pure consciousness also, because they are connected to what? They are connected to me, which were very close to the crown. I reached there, I had a lot of power, but I fell. Okay. So that's why God sent scriptures with the prophecies of it is gonna come, because there are so many false teachers. There's so many people claiming they are teachers, but only the ones that fulfills the prophecies and bring the word of God in the purest form is the one really should be accepted. Okay. So watch out, not such a teaching or teachers take your crown and connect you to themselves. Okay. So it's a very tricky path. Okay. If it was easy, everybody would reach pure consciousness very fast. Actually, when I first became familiar with meditation, they used to tell us in the story that God is in 50 miles from here, and everybody starts from the 0 mile to go to God. And the first reach a point, you go a mile, and there's best food and drink, and the most beautiful cuisine you ever wanted, and half of the people get attached to that thing, and the other half says, no, you have to go to God, and the other half go to the next one. They're the most beautiful mates you can have, the wonderful eyes, beautiful, people with the music and all the things you can, including all the food was in the first mile. half of the rest get, by the time people get to the 5th mile where God is, only 2 people make it. And the one person runs and hugs God and say, I made you. I got to you, I'm here. And the other one comes and humbly, bow down to God and stays there. God says, he made it only. Even the one who runs and egoistically says, I'm here, I'm so great, I found you, do not make it. Only the one who humbly, bows down, God says, that's the one who made it. So from millions of people who start the journey, very few people make it. That's what many people call, few people are chosen. It's all given, it's all there. It's all God has already revealed to humanity how it works. Okay? And the only thing is we have to really understand them. Okay? And if we understand them, then we'll see, we have a lot of work on ourselves. We have to be careful not to be, not to let the, other people pull us down, not to let the world affect us, not to let the, fall. Even in paraviprahood, we can fall. Okay? Even after working all that hard, if we are in condition of life, still we might fall. So, kino of within is following of the eternally one path and recognizing and realizing the word of God.
I have a question, but I don't know if anybody else in the internet.
Okay, if anybody else have a question in the internet, we have a question here. If you have any there, you go ahead. Give you half a minute. Is anybody using internet, or can you hear guys us or?
We can hear you very well, Maitreya.
Okay, good. I thought I'm talking to oblivions. Okay, apparently there's no question. Let's know there's a question here. Go ahead.
Well, my question is about tests. It seems like the idea of being tested is like a universal idea. And you go to school and you're tested for what you know. And even like in the primitive cultures, you hear about them being tested to see if they made it to be a man. And so even in the spiritual path, you can expect that you're going to be tested.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's actually God said, "Those I love, I chastise." If He doesn't love you, why does He chastise you? He doesn't care. You can do whatever you want. He just leaves you alone. You become rich and famous and a lot of money, and you think you have a big ego, you made it, and He says, okay, you think that's fine, go ahead and be. But He says, I'll chastise you. I'll tell you things you don't want to hear. Especially when I give satsangs, God comes through and probably says things some people don't want to hear, but that's good for them to hear. That it is what God wants them to become. So testing is you're correct. It's a part of a spiritual progress. Okay. And God even tested Abraham.
For Christ.
Christ, exactly. He told them, hey, what? Take your son and kill it for me. Now, if you do that right now, they're going to put you in prison and go to the asylum. Oh, that guy is crazy. There's going to be a headline news. The man thought God told him to kill his son. But He took him there and he passed the test. Actually, after he did that, God gave him the unconditional promise. Before that, it's always a condition that if you do this for me, I'll do that for you. Kind of a business, kind of a deal with Abraham. If you leave your parents' home and go to the land I show you, I'll make you a great nation. Okay? But after he passed that test, which was his final test, because he was so attached to Isaac, he loved Isaac so much, he said, okay, now I'm gonna, there was no condition. He said, I am gonna make you many nations and great nations and all that. So we can test. Christ goes to the, thing and devil comes and tell him, make it bread and all that. 3 tests, which are symbol of 3 chakras, which is a symbol of Christ in the 3 seals. He passes the test. God says, okay, now you pass the test, you can have the mission that has been provided for you. And of course, part of his mission was to be crucified. Just like you have to crucify your lower nature. You have to overcome it. You have to, get rid of them. Okay? Get rid of the fuzzy philosophies. Okay? Get on with the meat and the gravy of the spirituality, which is of course, don't eat too much meat. This is just an expression. Don't say Maitreya said it's okay to eat meat and gravy all the time. So get to the meat and gravy, which is the mission of Maitreya. This is these teachings, okay? Which is God has prophesied. The prophecies are fulfilled. Okay, the 7 seals are open. Okay? Don't just hang into the past. Okay, so it's been satsang for last 20 years. That's a lot of material is covered and said and done, and the only thing you have to make a decision. Okay, you have to say yes. That's what I want. Okay, that's what the whole meat and gravy is. I don't want to spend time with these gurus and teachers and this and that. I want to get to the highest matter of it. The one who has been prophesied for 12,000 years to come, and now is here. Am I still going to sit there lukewarm? What am I going to do? Am I going to cope up with the lukewarm? Or can I? I can't. I have to get with the people that are not lukewarm. They are dedicated. They are one-pointed. They follow eternal divine path and work in the creation of the comings of light. They are my brothers. They are in my heart. And that's what all of us to do. If it was 20 years and I've not created any communities of life, you better look at myself. What's wrong with me? Okay? I have to do something more. I have to reach more. Okay? Of course, there are people that help on many other different levels. They don't have to carry communities of life. They're doing for the mission, which is as good as creating communities of life. Okay? Which also appreciated. Also, we need supportive group. Okay? People they just support the mission, physically, mentally, or spiritually. So we can help the teachers to go around and preach the teaching and spread the message. So we need all of the people, but dedication and making the decision to get rid of the fuzzy philosophy, all of them are a part of your spiritual progress. And also this satsang also tests. When I say things that it probably something might hurt you, it depends how far you're going to run. Are you going to stay around and then say, oh, okay, he says a lot of truth and I have to look at myself and progress, or I'm going to take my bag and run away. If you take your bag and run away, you fail the test. But if you don't, then you will find beautiful things. Did they make sense? Answer your question?
Mm-hmm. But eventually there's a point where there are no more tests because you just are one.
Exactly, but that's what happened to Abraham. That's what happened to Christ. They reached a point, God said, yeah, I trust you. I realize that you are dedicated. I realize that you really want to do the mission. You have realized what's happening here. There's no test. Actually, you evoke the test yourself. If you are completely dedicated to the mission and doing the will of God, there is no test. No matter what they throw at you, it's just going to go whoo, right through you. Because there is no test. You have reached the point that you absolutely are one with God. Actually, tests come when you oppose the will of God. If you don't oppose the will of God, what test? There is nothing test. Okay, we have 15 minutes. We can answer any other questions you guys might have, or we can meditate together and see what happens next. Okay, our time is up at 12 o'clock, or 6 o'clock our time. And we are in the confusion cloud, cut up together here in earth. You have to, what happens when the cloud is come and Christ come in the cloud? Is disciples going to be lifted from the earth to the cloud? Same thing here, you should be lifted from the world to the, out of the cloud, getting cut into his teaching and the mission. There's another answer right there. You cannot have both world and God. So you have to be lifted up out of the earth and those confused world. And I wish you all a good month, God month. We'll have another Satsang next month, but I'll see you all this afternoon at 5:30. We're going to have beginning of Passover, and we're going to have the start of it, and you're all going to see how it's done. So see you then. Salam.